All right, it looks like we're live. Welcome to the Hedera community call. I'm Brandon Hargreaves. You might know me from the Hedera content that I put out there. Of course, I do a weekly update covering everything that's happening in the Hedera ecosystem every Friday. That'll come out around 4 o'clock tomorrow. I also have Shark Bites with Rob Allen. He is one of the Hedera Governing Council representatives from AP Plus. We have DeFi Corner with Brady from Bonzo Finance. Formerly, he was with Hedera. And then, of course, I have my Built on Hedera series where I interview all kinds of builders in the Hedera ecosystem. So welcome here today. We have some great people in the ecosystem. Today, we have some new people, including VK from the Binary Holdings. We also have somebody that has been around since the very beginning in Sachin, and he's with Xeni Travel. Love Xeni, been interviewing him for years. And then we have Ed Marquez, who's with Hashgraph as well. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Brandon.
you.
Very good to be
Thanks,
here.
Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right, so we're going to dive in. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. We're going to go to the newest community member here first. The newest member to the Hedera ecosystem with VK. VK, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? We're going to do a deeper dive into everything that is going on with Binary Holdings. But what brought you to the Hedera ecosystem?
Well, I think first of all, yeah, I'm VK. I run marketing at the Binary Holdings. Um, I'll talk a little bit about the company a little later, but I think our interaction with Hedera actually started even before I joined Binary. It started with Sabrina in APAC, and then we've since then, I think the last like 8 to 9 months spent working with her and Alice both in the APAC region and trying to like figure out what's the best way for us to work with the overall ecosystem. And I think like we've gotten off to I would say a really like killer start, and looking forward to like a lot more.
Yeah, some of the teams that you're working with already and exposing some of the Hedera apps through your platform are just amazing. So welcome on here today. Next, we're going to go to Sachin. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick and let us know how you came to Hedera?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for Brandon for having me. Wow, many more. So I started the Xeni as a very Web2 focused company in the beginning, and we were looking to find a very new way to book, brand, and resell and settle the travel for Web2 and Web3 platforms. The industry is completely complicated. It is built on legacy system, and we were looking for a perfect enterprise blockchain which has a gas fees which are completely pegged to dollars, so we know the expected cost of running our operations or getting things sorted, and we wanted the fastest blockchain out in the market. We were in search of something very special for travel industry who is ready to be used, and I think Hedera fit the use case very well to reimagine and rebuild the entire travel infra.
All right. Well, it's nice to see you as always, Sachin. And then we're going to wrap it up with Ed Marquez. We've been talking to each other for years. Ed, welcome. Can you introduce yourself real quick?
Absolutely. Thank you, and good to be here with you and our speakers again. I lead the developer relations function for Hedera at Hashgraph, and that is the function that seeks to attract, engage, and retain developers. So making sure that devs have opportunities to try to build Hedera. Also, we have to ensure that we have the enablement and support materials for those developers, and ensure that those frictions throughout that process are low. The friction points have to be low so that people want to stay in the ecosystem. And so I come from an engineering and developer background myself. I was in embedded software development when I discovered Hedera. From the technology side, I was thinking this was too good to be true. Then I went, read the white paper, watched every Lemon video that I could find, and I was really convinced that this is the direction that I wanted to take to inform and help everyone learn the benefits of this technology and help everyone build, a future that is powered by Web3 technology on Hedera. So that's why we're here.
Oh, it's been a wild ride to this point. I think we're seven or 8 years in. It's been a blast from the very beginning. But now I'm going to go to VK again. I want to talk about the Binary Holdings because there is there has been a need. We have these amazing apps within the Hedera space, especially in the gaming space. They're coming to market all the time, but we need to get them in front of people, allow people to start to use them. So, can you tell us about Binary Holdings a little bit, and tell us about what you're doing to help some of our teams get their apps in front of the rest of the world?
Got it. A very, very quick elevator pitch is we are a Web3 distribution company. So essentially, we build infrastructure that lies or that can sort of attach itself to legacy Web2 businesses, and sort of be a gateway for Web3 projects to attract users, right? I think the entire industry itself, we're talking a lot more about how do we reduce friction in terms of onboarding Web2 users. And essentially, what our goal is to bring them, sort of like funnel them in without any of the um, often talked about issues of accessing wallets or like seed phrases, blah blah blah. So that's essentially what we're doing. So I think stage one of that is we work with telcos, specifically in Southeast Asia at this point in time, to embed our super app into their apps. And the super app pretty much is a marketplace of Web3 dApps in games, social apps, lifestyle apps, etc. And specifically with Hedera, I think stage one is obviously to get games and very interesting like social apps in, which we have. I think we've got a good start with SMACKM, MetaverseME, and then we have Legends of the Past, and speaking to Basil from that team. So we're very excited.
So, are these applications actually live on your app now, or is it going to be coming soon?
Actually, it's going to be live, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
What we're working through right now is to have an entire like dApp sort of automation tool that's in testing right now. And once the tests are like done and then we're ready to go into production, I think Hedera like SmackM and MetaverseMe are going to be like in the first batch of apps that go live.
Okay, I got you. So, what kind of scale are we talking about here? How many people are going to get access to these apps? How many of them actually use the apps once they're on your platform? What's the exposure look like?
Right. So we have, I think, with the telcos that we've partnered with, the total market size as such is about 169 million users. So that's the amount of people that the telcos have on their network. And then let's say about 70, 80 million people have the apps. And we, with currently with live, we see about 2 to 3 million people coming into the app on a daily basis. Now, and this is, let's say, like stage 0.1. Our next endeavor, once we have all of these games and like social apps to come in, we're able to increase the amount of time spent and the engagement numbers on the app. So that's sort of like where we are.
Okay, I understand. So one of the things you were talking about the last time we spoke was the amount of scaling that we could see in the months and year to come. What does that look like over the next several months?
Pretty good actually. Like we've sort of like started off with Indonesia and Philippines at the moment, and then we're currently in sort of testing an integration with another two or three telcos in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. So our sort of target markets are like pretty simple. They have to be very, very like mobile friendly. And I think a second qualifier, but again, not a super important one. I think like where mobile data prices are a lot less, a lot more like inexpensive than compared to, I would say, like the western side of the world. So these two are our like primary markets. So we're thinking Southeast Asia, Africa, and LATAM. Um, so that's sort of like where we're going. We've started with Indonesia, then we've sort of progressed a little to the left to Philippines, and now we're moving like more west. So we're going to cover the world that way.
Well, that's what we want to see. We want to get our apps in front of as many people as possible. So, out of the applications, of course, we have developers all over the place. We have tons of applications out there. Which are the type of applications that should reach out to you to potentially get listed in your application?
So I think on the technology side of things, we are a progressive web app, right? And so I think like our integration is going to be like super quick. And right now, for the target market that we have, we're primarily looking at like hyper casual games and any sort of like social or lifestyle apps as phase one, because that's sort of like see the most amount of traction. And the other thing that I think is important to mention here is we're working with Hedera and we've launched a Hedera binary grants program. So essentially, how that works is you're able to like onboard your dApp onto our ecosystem and you get, let's say, $15,000 worth credits in binary token that's redeemable inside the ecosystem. So think of like higher placements, advertising, banner ads, etc. Anything that a traditional app would use to market itself inside a marketplace. That's sort of like what we're able to provide for the first year, just so apps are able to like see traction like real time.
So, I mean, we see the potential for Web3 gaming. I mean, of course, there's already in game currencies that are digital, all that kind of stuff. And making those tradable on open markets just makes perfect sense. Same thing with in game assets, making those NFTs so they pretty much can go along with the user. That makes perfect sense. But it is a big barrier to entry for gamers who aren't familiar with Web3. How are you trying to address that to kind of sneak Web3 in there and show them the potential of that new aspect of Hedera and Web3?
Okay, I think the short and the long of it is we're not trying to educate. We're trying to engage, and I think there's a fundamental difference, at least in the first like 12 months, where the first level of education, also like engagement, leads to them discovering that the let's say the loyalty points that they earn by spending time on the telcos app is redeemable for a lot of different things. So I think that is all the education that we want to do at this level. And once they familiarize themselves with the fact that okay, there's a token, I can use it to buy XYZ things, and I've spent, let's say, 100 hours playing SmackM and I've gotten like these five rewards, which is within the Hedera like ecosystem that I can then utilize to do like another action. I think that's a win for us. Because what we don't want to do is overburden the user with too much information. Right now, all that we're asking them to do is like come in, play a game. If you spend more time, you're earning more tokens, and you can redeem those tokens for sort of like real world assets, as funny as I had to use that term, but things like data packs, things like a coffee at a 7-Eleven in Indonesia, things that are like of value to the average consumer in those markets. I think that's where we want to stop our sort of like redeeming phase for now, and then we'll get to tokens and in-game assets, etc. Once they're ready for it.
So I want to hop over to Sachin here real quick, but like you said, the Hedera apps are going to be live here within the next couple weeks on your platform. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the community to get engaged and how they can use your platform?
I think two things like feel first of all, I think like please do check out the grant program. While we have mentioned that it's for like dApps that are looking to like onboard with us, we'd be very happy to speak to anyone from any of the devs who even have like just an idea on paper, or even if it's not on paper, we'd like to like build that together with Hedera and like the binary. So yeah, that's the main thing, and I think like hopefully we'll be back next month talking about like the incredible traction that our header apps have had on our platform, and share some numbers with you guys.
Well, we have plenty of applications that I think would be a perfect fit. We have Karate Combat out there. There's another, it's pretty much all casual games, Circle of Games, and I know they're going to have their token generation event coming up. So I know there's a lot of other teams that are probably going to want to get on your application. And of course, Earthlings, the team that's behind SmackM, they're going to have a lot more games coming out as well. So I'm looking forward to everything that comes from it. So we're going to jump from gaming into travel, a pretty big jump there. But we're going to go to Sachin, who is an absolute OG in the space. Sachin, can you just hop on and maybe do a little bit deeper dive into what you're doing with Xeni?
Absolutely. Before that, congratulations, Venki, that what you have put together for the community and that era. Sorry for the background noise. They're dogs barking. So no, but Venki, but I totally understand, and I had the same premise when I was using Web3. You have to have a frictionless onboarding. Brandon, I'm just going to take a question a little later, but I want to just give the
Sure.
background. The way it was, I was looking at it is more of like infrastructure is now accessible by everybody, but the major problem was the how you can bring that infrastructure or the user experience without disrupting their current user experience. The legacy Web 2 industry has invested heavily into UI UX. They have 10, 20 years of advantage. They made it so easy for users to be able to click and go through the frictionless off chain, which is Web 2 experiences, whether it's playing games, whether it's buying real world utility or whatever that is, right? So what Xeni had taken is like we had it again. Travel is one of the largest global industries in the world. It employs around 350 million people worldwide, travel and hospitality, and it's like 10% of world's GDP. So what we said, okay, well, can it be tokenized? Can you book on chain? Can you do everything without disrupting user experience? So the approach we took it is like, okay, all right, we're going to bring the users on the ecosystem, but then they don't know they're interacting on a Web3 layer. The whole user experience remains as is, but bring the wallet and slowly get them to, again, not educate, engage them through the rewards and loyalty program, engage them through the frictionless onboarding, engage them through small proof of concept, and bring them to the proof of scale. So I'm going back what Xeni has done, and which is pretty much similar on that scale what Binary Holdings is doing. We are integrated with major super apps worldwide, and probably our paths cross here. I was smiling when he was talking about it. I'm like, oh my god, this guy have all of my clients could be interacting with his entire marketplace, and his clients could benefit just by adding a travel as a rewards loyalty program. We have a whole we probably only company in the world who have offered all the travel full stack APIs and plug and play integrations with the super app worldwide. So every single users of these major super apps get wallets assigned automatically. So what we're bringing is that exact same thought process into a different vertical, where you don't have to create a complete new vision and it start disrupting the web 2 view of the legacy users of web 2, you know. So we're raising the bar how the real world web 3 integrations will look like in travel at Xeni. We have integrated clients who are telcos of the world, and then super apps of the world in different categories in e-commerce or a food delivery, who are embedding travel within their infrastructure. For example, and many of you for the here at home, people use Costco travel. People have used Walmart travel as well. These are embedded within the closed user group. Costco probably earns around 850 to $1 billion just by offering travel as a vertical to their closed user group. So every super app or every closed user group, big communities out there, they can embed and integrate this ecosystem. But to be able to manage loyalty, to be able to link the settlement, to be able to build the plug and play, you need an infrastructure like a blockchain native Web3 infrastructure where you can actually build all those rails, where you can bring this plug and play. So every single user on our ecosystem is basically directly integrated either via super apps or white label booking engines, and they can earn and redeem travel points, and they can also exchange it for buying travel. Similar use case in a different vertical.
One of the things that I've been impressed with, well, there's a few things with Xeni that I've been impressed with, Sachin. Number one is when I see your ads, you aren't trying to get the attention of degens or crypto people. You're looking for other travel professionals that want to build their platform on you guys. That shows me that you're a real business that is doing something that is allowing Hedera to enhance your business. It's not the core of your business. Even though we love that the teams that, the crypto is at the core of their business, that's not exactly what you're doing. But you have integrated Hedera at several different levels. And the users, including the travel professionals, the customers who are actually booking the travel, they may never know it. Can you run through some of the things that, how you've integrated Hedera and how you're using the network?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So think about like a traditional Web two process, right? Think about somebody is going on Expedia or Booking.com and trying to make a reservation for, let's assume, a London and 2 nights over the next weekend. What's happening there is, for user, you're using your credit card, go to the checkout page, select the hotel, and the payment is done. For current user, they have no, I would say, uh, the role post the booking confirmation. But what happens behind the scenes on Expedia is Expedia either have a direct contract with that hotel, so probably they are getting that inventory from that hotel, and then now Expedia has collected the payments, and now they have to settle it with that hotel. But that's not always the case. There is a lot of aggregation of wholesale bookings, and there are multiple middlemen. There are channel managers, there are bed banks, and I wouldn't take names, but they are the one who are providing inventory in the middle. So probably Expedia might have taken that inventory, served it to you, and you paid the money, and now they have to settle to that middleman, and then they have to settle it to hotel. Imagine the account reconciliation problem right there. For you, and the cost is borne by customer, because every time money moves from one party to other, there is a settlement time, there's a reconfirmation time. Crazy, I would say, mess in terms of all of that business functions behind the scenes. Same with when you're booking a flight. Imagine if you want to cancel the flight and get the money back in your account, and if you booked on a general OTA, it's extremely difficult. They have to issue you the credit because there are multiple middlemen. The settlement process is not streamlined. So if imagine now they all are having a single source of truth, a network which can point to a one data point, and they can agree and they cannot disagree because it's set in stone. So that's where Xeni is using one of the use case. The second one is, let's say you have a reservation at a hotel, and now you cannot go anymore, and now it's a non-refundable hotel, and hotel is expecting you to come in and use that reservation because they are also going to make money if you stay there by selling you ancillary or getting you at the bar and drink. So the problem over there is, now Venki, let's say as an example, going to a hotel, I was planning to go for a Bitcoin conference, and he can no longer go. His non-refundable booking, he doesn't get anything back. Hotel is losing ancillary revenue. There is no way he can just resell that booking. So the way Xeni has built it, because every single thing is tokenized, every transaction, every data is tokenized to that reservation, we can easily move that between the people. So Venki can, in future, can simply take that booking, post it on the marketplace, and say, hey, anybody wants to go there, please, I can resell it to you, I can transfer it to you for free, or I can probably just give it away, whatever, right? So these are very, very important use cases which otherwise you do not have, cannot have in the Web 2 infrastructure. And there are many more, but just want to stop at that.
Yeah, and I do want to go back to something else. You mentioned the potential collaboration between Binary Holdings and Xeni. Xeni could be one of those applications that could get listed on the Binary Holdings. I love to see that. I mean, I see it all the time, and we have so many strong teams in the Hedera space that they just need to be connected in the right ways so they can kind of amplify each other. And that's when we see, adoption go through that hockey stick moment when it goes exponential, when teams like yours can come together. Now, I know when I used to pay a lot of attention to the different fungible tokens that are transacting the most on the Hedera network, Xbucks was one of the ones that was usually at the top of the list. Now, that's used for internal payment on the Xeni platform. Can you tell us a little bit about that fungible token and maybe how standardized stablecoins, which we're seeing some big things happen in the Hedera space with things like USDC, how they could impact your market as well?
Yeah. So let me say, Xbucks is basically mimicking a very stable coin function. Okay. what is happening in Hedera. Let's say if you book on Xeni ecosystem, let's say you are a super app somewhere in the Middle East, or you are a embedded infrastructure of Xeni. You're using your user comes and spend $2,735. Let's say that for booking a travel. We take X bucks of equivalent amount and we send those based on the counterparty commissions, cost payments, and we split that money. So we basically collect the payment, the fiat, and we reimburse the token in their wallets. If the booking is refundable, user can simply hit cancel, money goes back into his wallet as fiat. But if booking is non-refundable, all these three parties could simply hit the button redeem, and the fiat is released into their bank. So now there is no one party, for example, in case of Expedia booking or all these big OTAs or big airlines, there is no one party is holding the bag and all of the people have to wait down the line. So we created a complete decentralized structure, how the money being moved with the Xbox. So, and we're almost closing to 10 million, maybe more than 100 million transactions, but $10 million worth of settlement on chain. So we were on a proof of concept phase. We are about to scale it. We'll probably be minting up to billion or 100 billion Xbox based on our current need. And then same way we'll be building the reward tokens. The same way we'll be minting bunch of other use cases. But yeah, I would once we launch, we will definitely let the community know.
All right, exciting stuff. Now, Ed, I want to go to you and get your thoughts on both Binary Holdings and Xeni. But first, I want to give Sachin one last opportunity. Is there anything else you'd like to pass on?
Yeah, I think this is the network everybody should watch out, because our hockey stick moment is now, I think, very closer. Have come very long way, and I think companies like Binary Holdings and Xeni will absolutely propel Hedera network and Edge bar community to the next level in next coming months or coming years.
Exciting stuff. So I do want to say to the audience, if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and drop those, because we're going to answer those at the end. So if you have any questions on Xeni, if you have any questions on Binary Holdings, or any of the stuff that Ed talks about, go ahead and get those down below, and we'll answer them as soon as we can. So Ed, before we move on to some of the DevRel stuff you got for us, what are your thoughts on Binary Holdings and Xeni?
Absolutely. So I love to see and hear about these projects, Brendan, because these are the guys driving real world adoption for decentralized or distributed ledgers and also the Hedera network. And so these guys are creating those network effects that are going to bring new consumers, new retail activity, and also more developers to build on their solutions and their platforms. And so this is exactly the type of stuff that we love to see, and love to work with your teams to provide whatever support, whatever enablement you need, and also that enablement that new developers will need, right? And so that connects very strongly with the purpose of hackathons and the activities that we do in our team. But in terms of general thoughts, love to see the impact that Sachin and the Xeni team are having in the travel industry, and of course, very excited to have Venki's product live, coming to the network in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. So, Ed, you're with developer relations. Of course, you're working with teams like Xeni and Binary Holdings. How are things going on that front? I know we have some amazing hackathons. We have a big one that's coming up. We had an AI hackathon a little bit ago. We have amazing things going on in the AI space, in DeepIn space, payments. What's going on when it comes to Hashgraph helping enabling the teams in those spaces?
Absolutely. So we work closely with a variety of teams, specifically in developer relations. We're very focused on providing education for a lot of developers, lots of developers. And so one thing that we've noticed is that a lot of industry reports, they show developer activity perhaps based on GitHub, but we went back and we look at the testnet activity that is happening with developers, and we have a very healthy set of activity for developers happening on our testnet. So it's, I think someone spoke about that hockey stick movement or trajectory in terms of the adoption, and I'm very happy to say that that's what we're seeing with people, building new applications, building use cases on our EVM as well as through our native services. And so, yeah, more directly to answer your question, we stay in touch with our community very frequently in spaces like this one. So it's also an open invitation that if you have a topic that you want to come and give visibility to with the rest of our community, please reach out. But if you also have questions about technical support, developer enablement, please reach out because we would love to work with those projects as well.
So, Ed, what are some of the verticals that have you most excited right now, and why?
I'm very excited about AI, tokenization, sustainability, and consumer engagement. So, AI is absolutely here to stay, right? I think we are moving to a future that is more autonomous. I think you've heard it said before that AI agents are not going to have bank accounts, but they will have the ability to access value through Web3 and through crypto. And so I think it's a very natural intersection where Web3 and distributed ledgers add a ton of value to those agentic entities, those AI agents. And at the same time, we can look at the flip of that, which is, AI can also benefit from the data integrity, the traceability that, blockchain provides. So that's where we see the use cases like Equity Lab and NVIDIA for verifiable compute, also the model lineage explorer that Equity Lab has created. And of course, we're all going to end up using those AI agents to build new blockchain applications more efficiently. So I'm very excited about that future because it's a very good synergy of technologies that goes both ways, right? Blockchain helps AI. AI, of course, makes blockchain development faster and more efficient as well. Moving to tokenization is, and I'll stop just with tokenization. I think the future is going to be tokenized, right? I remember back in 2020 when we released the Hedera token service, Lehman saying everything is going to be tokenized. And those were the early days, but now that's where we're starting to see tokenization going to full force. Institutions talking about it, banks talking about it. Everybody is talking about tokenizing many things, right? Perhaps not everything, but just as many things went from paper systems to digital databases, a lot of these systems that we have today are going to go from siloed systems to these shared distributed ledgers that make the moving of value a lot easier, make the liquidity of assets stronger, and also the accessibility to those assets much easier for people around the world. So I'm extremely optimistic and bullish on tokenization of everything, right? Of carbon assets, of paper assets, of real estate, of diamonds, commodities, you name it. And then, yeah, sustainability. I think blockchain is the perfect solution for that, to bring transparency and true accountability to that vertical. And of course, anything that deals with consumer engagement, absolutely one of my favorites there. And a highlight is Karate Combat, because it's a very good use of that distributed ledger technology and those tokens to drive governance for a sports league and also drive that engagement of the users, which I think is an amazing application.
I'm trying to capture everything in my head of all the things that you're talking about because there's huge things happening on every single one of those fronts. The first one that, talking about tokenization, we saw Archax tokenizing money market funds a couple years ago. It's been a while. That was the first step. And we just heard about this week the second step in that iteration. So once you've tokenized some of these assets, what are you going to do with them? And what they're doing now is using it as collateral, using those tokenized assets as collateral for FX trading. So that's the next step, and then they're just going to continue down on their roadmap. The other thing that I love to see is, as a proof of concept, we have NFT marketplaces, we have DeFi marketplaces like Saucer Swap, and they act as a proof of concept for the traditional space. And the next thing we saw in the Hedera space was teams like Verto and the Digital Commodities Exchange tokenizing commodities and exchanging and creating exchanges around that. So, of course, the next step is, are there going to be stock exchanges and other securities exchanges that create similar things? And that's what we're starting to see now. One of the Hedera Governing Council members, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, is going to create the Kenyan Digital Exchange, which is just going to be the mirror digital version of their traditional stock exchange and bond exchange. So, and ETFs and everything else. So it's following the exact progression that I would think. You're starting with those proof of concepts with pure Web3 things, and then it moves slowly in the traditional space. And a huge step is the Nairobi Securities Exchange, because they're going to act like a proof of concept for the really big exchanges out there, FTSE, New York Stock Exchange, the coming Texas Stock Exchange, and so forth. So I love to see the progression we're seeing in the Hedera space. I do have a question about AI. So you talked about the verification of data. that's things like Prove AI, which is something that's being built on Hedera. And then you also mentioned Equity Lab, and they're embedding Hedera technology directly in NVIDIA and Intel chips to verify that data. So it's going all the way down to the silicon level. But I am very curious about agents using crypto as the value transfer mechanism on the internet. The first place where I saw that, because I'm really excited about micropayments in general, because it's a true frontier use case that wasn't possible until we had ultra efficient technologies like Hedera to do these value transfers. And the first thing I was thinking about is things like Internet of Things and decentralized physical infrastructure. We're seeing teams like Neuron work in that space. CLSQ is also doing that. They already have satellites that are in orbit ready to go, and they're getting all their objects out there. They already have their technology in millions, if not billions of objects already out there that are ready to start transferring things like power and other things along those lines. But what really makes me interested is agents actually transferring value back and forth. And, one of the issues with AI is intellectual property. So the people that create the data in the first place, are they being properly compensated? And then agents between each other, and then users between agents. Those are low value transactions, but the volume could be tremendous. Certainly a place where we could see stablecoins being used, but I could even see HBAR being used as that medium of exchange, because a stablecoin that's built on Hedera costs costs exactly a tenth of a cent to transfer back and forth. But transferring HBAR back and forth would be 1/100th of a cent. So I could just see if there's no crypto bias and things like that, the agents just saying, "Hey, this is the cheapest way to do it. It's the easiest way to do it. It's we know how consistent it's going to be. This is what we're going to use." So, what are your thoughts about agents using Hedera for value transfer on the internet?
I think Hedera is the home of agents precisely for those reasons that you mentioned, because it is the most efficient technology platform to communicate in a way that is traceable and auditable, while transferring value with very minimal overhead, with very minimal additional steps. To give you an example of that, a key enabler for that is what's happening today with open uh, ecosystems, or sorry, open standards that are in our ecosystem, like HCS10, right? And that is enabled by HIP 991, which is effectively the ability to transfer value as you transfer information in a consensus message. So agents can communicate, they can verify that whatever exchange that we're trying to coordinate happened, and value is transferred as part of that communication. So you don't need additional 5 or 6 or 8 steps. It's almost like embedded in the information transfer, the value transfer as well. So, I mean, just talking about those capabilities, the future is very open for AI agents to come and do commerce and auditable communications on the Hedera network. So I think that's absolutely an amazing use case. Sachin, I think you have some.
Yeah, I'm just like such an important topic, right? And it's such a convergence of both technologies, whether it's a blockchain and AI. And I think it's such an important thing that people need to know. AI needs data it can trust on. Anyone want to build a clean AI model, you have to have a verifiable data to improve prediction, like pricing, demand, supply, probably fraud detection, whatever the industry use case is, right? And Hedera ensures itself it's a tamper proof, and the user behavior gets logged down, whatever, or the settled. You put it on immutable records. So it's such a important piece that people need to understand. They're not different. They work, even they make the use case or the point even more important, because auditability and compliance are going to be the key driver for the AI to thrive on. Whether it's going to be agent to agent, or whether it's going to be a tokenized loyalty or approving the identity, it's all going to come down to the low cost at a scale. And that's what Ed is mentioning, and you've been mentioning, and we've been building, and that was the major reason why we use Hedera as a choice of blockchain tech or a Web3 layer for us to build all these future dApps.
Absolutely. Well, VK, with all the applications that you have to be thinking about payments and value transfer as well. Do you have any thoughts along these lines, whether it's stable coins or anything else?
I think a key component of what we're building is still the Web2 legacy tech, right? So that is, I wouldn't say restrictive at this point in time, but it's still got its own like sort of like borders that we have to comply with. So we're not really like able to think so far ahead in terms of like payment settlements and like usage of like stable coins, because we still operate within a closed loop ecosystem. So I think how we, and I think like just like diverting a little into AI is, um, one of the things that we try and talk to our partners about is the sort of like the community or the group of people or the target audience that we go for are still like not even like having conversations about AI and things. It's still information that they consume. So we're just trying to, our sort of like the problem statement we are trying to tackle is how does AI affect or affect lives of like people in the underserved, underbanked, underrepresented markets, but with high mobile penetration. So they have a device. The device might not be powerful enough to run like complex AI systems or engines, but it's simple enough to have an app that could add maybe like 5% more value to their lives. And that's kind of like the space that we're in. So we are like, I think we're in the other side of the world when it comes to like, quite literally when it comes to like settlements and like stable coins. We're not there yet. As I said, we just want them to be comfortable like talking to someone who's not a person, and having like a voice to voice like chat and then progressing like from there.
Well, this is, I mean, the most potential for Hedera is really unlocking the economic potential of billions around the world. I just had an interview with George from Shamba Records, and he's doing exactly that with farmers, giving them access to carbon markets and things like that. So there's amazing things going on. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the hackathon stuff that we have coming up. I know that we had that AI hackathon I mentioned before, but we have $1 million hackathon, a prize pool with $1 billion hackathon starting in August. It's going to be mainly focused around Africa, but there's going to be opportunities outside Africa as well. So there's that $1 million prize pool, and I know I can't talk about this too much, but then there's going to be significant follow on investment afterwards as well. They've been doing an amazing job getting the word out on this, but I just wanted to get your take on it if you had anything that you wanted to mention around that hackathon that's going to be coming up.
So, I mean, we have many hackathons as as an ecosystem that are coming up and that are going to be available for developers to explore, but also build and stay on Hedera. And so, specific to that one that you're mentioning, I believe that's starting in August. The Africa Hackathon,
Mm-hmm.
huge prize pool that is going to be very good motivation for people to build, explore their use case, explore their solution, and then stay in touch with folks at the Hashgraph Association to continue building on the Hedera ecosystem. Now, even before that, we have this one that is coming up, the one that you see on the screen. This is the Hello Future Origins Hackathon. And again, it
Oh,
starts
wow.
on July 21st, that is this Monday, and it goes all the way to August 8th. So here you can see some of the details around the dates, July 1st to August 8th.
Uh
I
huh.
would recommend everybody goes to this page by just looking hedera.com/hackathon. That'll redirect you to this page here. And then the reason it's called Origins is because we have a trilogy for this hackathon. We want you to keep coming back and refining your solution. We, don't want it to be a one-time build and then, you don't have any additional follow-on opportunities or any support. And so the first chapter of this trilogy is going to happen starting next Monday. And then total, we're going to give $500,000 of prizes for those developers and hackers that have those best and winning submissions. So, we'll provide more information on the other chapters, so the Ascension chapter and the Apex, but we're going to have a very busy rest of 2025 with plenty of opportunities for hackers to come and build on Hedera. And so for this one, for the Origins hackathon, you're going to have 4 key tracks and 1 bonus track, right? So AI and agents, DeFi and tokenization. We've talked about those opportunities and those verticals. Also sustainability. And there's a track for legacy builders. So if you've participated in any of the ETH global hackathons, maybe the ETH Denver hackathon, or perhaps the Hedera AI hackathon that we just did, you have an opportunity to keep building those solutions here and still win prizes, right? Um, and finally, dev experience. If you have feedback, if you have improvement opportunities that will reduce those friction points, we would love to take those submissions. And of course, you have the opportunity to win as well. So Yeah, come to this page, register. Again, you have time. You have all the way until the last week of the hackathon to register, but don't wait till the last minute. Typically, the best quality we see from people who start early on, they form those teams early, they start testing and getting in touch with us, and they come to all the different AMAs and support sessions that we're going to have. So, the last thing I want to mention here is the program outline. And, here you'll see how the judges will be qualifying the submissions, what your submission is going to be evaluated upon. So, criteria like innovation, feasibility, execution, and so on. You have all the details that you need to know about what you will submit. There will be opportunities to also get NFTs and certificates of completions throughout the hackathon. And then you can check out this helpful calendar to make sure you don't miss any of the workshops or AMAs. We had our first workshop yesterday, an introduction to Hedera. I think we highlighted the developer playground, the contract builder, and an example on how to work with templates that we provide. And then there will be more workshops for AI, for tokenization, and ask me anything sessions to give support to those hackers and builders that come to the hackathon. So that is the Hello Future trilogy.
I didn't even know about this one. That when you have this much stuff going on in the Hedera space that I can't even keep up, and I try to keep up on it full time, that's impressive. And it's a $500,000 hackathon. It's incredible. So I do want to get to some questions. So Luis, if you want to start putting those up, you certainly can. But in the meantime, Ed, is there anything else you'd like to touch on?
Um, Please stay tuned for the next week. We're gonna have an amazing schedule of technical community call and additional spaces with Genshu in the next week. So we're gonna share, more information about technical resources, about other verticals, and so like you said it, Brendan, there's so much happening in the ecosystem, and one of the best ways to get that information is to stay engaging with us in these social media and these community calls. So pay attention for what's going to be available in the next week as well. We're going to come with very good topics again, so stay in touch.
Exciting stuff. All right, so let's try to get to some of those questions. We'll see if we can get a couple to pop up here. And okay, so Brandon, I'd like to know how Xeni and Binary Holdings are integrating AI into their platforms, if at all. So, Sachin, do you want to start off with that? And then if VK wants to answer anything else, he certainly can add.
Sure, of course, and we talked about how the AI is definitely is going to need a clean data, a reliable data. But the major thing we are doing, and I'm just now out in public going to announce it, we're building a conversational booking engine, and it is based on the completely powered by RAG and intent detection, what user would like to, where they would like to go, what they want to do. We have already started making progress on how our model is being trained based on amazing user data, what we have currently in our system. So the conversational booking engines is going to be the new feature. I think the AI will remove the UI complexities, and it will bring the convenience into the customer's hand. Uh, and again, we're waiting for Congress to pass all those major acts. I mean, all support to the crypto week community, Web3, because it's going to be very, very important that we allow AI to be able to transform the value to the users, save them more time, bring their efficiency back into the system. So Xeni is right now building a unique use case, which we haven't seen it yet.
All right. Well, we're looking forward when it actually hits the market and starts to
Okay.
hit the Hedera network. VK, I know you already talked a little bit about AI. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's about it. I think we're looking at sort of like stage one of AI, which is being able to build something that interacts with our users, and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Sounds good. Lewis, let's throw another one up there.
Well, Luis throws the next
Okay.
question. I also do want to mention a few things that we're working on AI. So there's an AI agent kit that you're going to see a new version for it early next week, late this week. So very excited about providing that for hackers to build in the hackathon, but also to build outside of the hackathon. It's going to be a great tool to facilitate building autonomous agents that can perform actions for you on the Hedera network, and in the short future integrate with other parts of the ecosystem, because it will be possible to build plugins and so on. So imagine having those tools to integrate agents that perform actions on Hedera very easily, and perform actions not just on the Hedera network but throughout the whole ecosystem, and integrate easily with other tools. So I'm very optimistic and excited about that tool. Also, we have the Hedera HiveMind GPT. Don't forget about that. That's a very easy way to get Hedera relevant information, and it provides or it has context on our documentation, examples, tutorials. So if you're a developer or end user, you can easily go to that Hedera Hivemind GPT on ChatGPT. It's free, and it can even perform mirror node queries for you on testnet and mainnet. So very recommended for that. And stay tuned for the developer playground, because that's going to incorporate some very, very cool AI features as well. So if you're a developer getting started, go to that playground and imagine what you'll be able to do once you have a chatbot to help you with the context that you have in your code, and to help you troubleshoot and create new applications. So certainly we're taking AI very seriously on the Hashgraph and Hedera side.
Good stuff and well covered. Lewis, let's see if we can get another one up there, and we'll see if we can answer a few more before we knock off here.
Brandon, I just want to make one announcement. If
Sure.
anybody is looking to work with us, please DM me on LinkedIn, especially on the Hedera network, or want to gain experience on AI. We're welcoming applications.
All right, sounds good. And the next one we had from Venki, you can throw that one back up there. So does VK think the potential of Web3 is more important in countries like Indonesia with perhaps more limited infrastructure than in the supposedly more infrastructure-rich countries in the world? I think this is a pretty clear answer, but VK, I'm going to throw it to you.
I think it is. I think it's. I don't know if it's a question of is it more important, but I would say I think it's definitely like very, very relevant.
Impactful,
Not taking
right?
anything away from anything from like infrastructure ready countries, right? Or like ones that are like far more like developed. And I think it's a case of like now and the future. I think the good things, if you're able to get blockchain technology implemented at grassroots level in countries. I mean, like we're speaking about Indonesia, but I think like Indonesia, similar countries like Indonesia, I think is the fact that let's say things like like Indonesian creators and the freelance economy is quite massive. I used to live in Bali and forget the expats, even like local like Balinese are like a ton of like freelancers. So that's actually like a big use case for them to have like payments besides legacy payment solutions through cryptos and wallets and stuff. And I think like a lot of high percentage are underbanked or unbanked, and that again is somewhere I think like Web3 and blockchain technology can like sort of go way faster to sort of bring them financial independence than like what legacy systems are able to achieve. And Indonesia very specifically is by physical sort of like design also like distributed, right? Like and decentralized, so to speak, because it's an archipelago. It's like a thousands of islands. So there, I think even the physical sort of like really merges or blends into the digital, I would say, and it's a classic sort of like use case. And I think in general, the opportunity at places where you don't have infrastructure that's readily available is that we've seen that blockchain technology can develop and grow and get adoption like faster. So I think therein itself there is a massive, I guess, like upside to blockchain adoption in countries like Indonesia versus traditional legacy systems. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
It does. It makes perfect sense. One of the things that I see when it comes to some places that are in developing economies is if you're getting a carbon credit for $1,000 for a farmer, we'll say in some place like the UK that might not make a huge difference, but if it's someplace in Indonesia or in Africa, it could make a huge difference to those farmers. Or if it could even be a game like SmackM, which you're going to be supporting here shortly. If you're making 20 cents or 30 cents or a dollar playing SmackM in a day or a week or whatever it may be, it might not make any difference to people in some parts of the world, but other parts of the world, it could make a huge impact. So, that's that financial inclusion I think is really important. All right, so let's see if we can get one more question knocked out here before we hit the top.
I just want to add a thought, Brandon. Sorry. The point so we talked about micropayments, and it's not only developing economies or anything. The infrastructure is broken here as well. And just want to give a quick example. If you want to settle a few $100 or very small transaction, at this point in US or North America, you have applications like Venmo, right? But that application if you have a money sitting in Venmo, it's not FDIC insured. If Venmo goes through insolvency, you lose your money. 99% of people don't know that. But if you own your wallet and you have your money sitting in your wallet, nobody's going to take it away. There is
Sure.
no a single party system. So I think the use case is going to get expanded worldwide because of the very reason is you have your wallet and you own your money, no one else. So that's the point I wanted to add. Thanks.
Yeah, great point, Sachin. I think we'll try to knock out one more. All right. DFB says, is Hedera remaining competitive versus other chains like Sui? Ed, this is all yours.
Absolutely. And I really like this question because it is a very competitive market. And, I've seen from the front lines engaging with contributors, with community, with engineering teams and product teams, the amount of innovation and effort that is going into development of technology at Hedera, right? So that is very encouraging to see. But it's not just about technology, right? I think you have a whole flywheel where you want to create a successful ecosystem where the community members, the projects, the builders feel valued. And that's what creates that whole flywheel that makes an ecosystem successful. And I think since the beginning of this year, with major changes that have happened throughout the ecosystem, you have seen the new rebranding, the alignment of those different brands, and to propel the growth of the ecosystem that has been very positive. And then I've also seen, in conversations with council members, shifts happening at that level, right? Where council is much more committed to usage and growth of the network. So I'm seeing very good signs throughout all the different fronts. What's happening, from the ecosystem growth perspective, what's happening in terms of utilization by council and engagement by council, also welcoming new members with amazing use cases already, taking place. And then of course, I've seen the growth, the positive growth of the community with new projects, with progress for those existing projects as well. And from the technology side, that only keeps getting better. So I would say Hedera does remain competitive in all those fronts. And I understand that when an ecosystem is new, it's very um, likely that you'll see accelerated growth, but then it's difficult to maintain that growth. And I'm very impressed with the growth that we have seen throughout Hedera. In fact, I saw a couple of days on social media, very big influencer in the Web3 space, commenting how Hedera has been able to maintain that growth throughout all these years, right? And so I think those dividends are starting to pay off now that all those efforts have compounded over time. So yeah, just to answer a very simple question, yes, Hedera is remaining competitive from the technology part and also the ecosystem part. So I stay optimistic on that.
Well covered, Ed. We appreciate it. So we're going to wrap it up here. We're pretty much towards the end. I want to say that if we have any developers out there, make sure that you try to enter those hackathons that are going to be coming up, the one that Ed mentioned, and then especially for teams out of Africa, the one that's going to be put on by the Hashgraph Association and the Exponential Science Foundation as well. And then, of course, if you're booking any travel, you're an H Barbarian, go ahead and do that through Xeni because they have an amazing platform there as well. And in a couple weeks, as soon actually go on and start using the Binary Holdings platform now. Get used to it. So once those Hedera applications start hitting, you can do those as well. Some personal stuff that I have going on. I have my hands in all kinds of stuff. You might know I'm a co-founder of Twigital, which creates digital twins from pretty much any physical object. We actually were just awarded a patent. So not only is it completely unique within the Hedera ecosystem, but it's unique throughout all of Web3. So we're excited about that. We're to the end of the runway as far as capital, but we'll figure that out just like any other startup. I have an NFT collection that's going to be dropping here soon. I'm using it as like a Web3 Patreon for a token gated space on Galaxy. It's actually powered by another Hedera team that's building out there. And then, if you can believe it, we're launching an H-Bar branded wine from a fantastic vineyard called Christopher Creek. And that's going to be done through another Web3 platform that's leveraging Hedera called Cask Cask Capital. They started off with whiskey. I had a friend, another one in the ecosystem, come to me saying he wanted to tokenize wine. I said, Cask Capital already has all this built, so we might as well do it on there. Now, all those things are going to be promoted in Karate Combat coming up on the 18th and 19th. So tomorrow and Saturday, we're going to have ads running in that. We sponsored, along with several other Hedera builders, the prize pool for Karate Combat coming up for Up Only Gaming. So we're excited because we have some really nice ads that we're going to be showing during that. This is how the ecosystem comes together. You get all these teams working together and promoting each other, and that's how we, as we mentioned a few times, go through that hockey stick moment. So that's all we have. Thanks for jumping on here today and listening to us, and that's all we got.
The need for a more interconnected world is fueling new decentralized technologies and new ways of doing business. Hedera stands at the forefront of distributed ledgers, where every interaction is not only trusted, but fast, efficient, and secure. While traditional blockchains struggle with speed and fees, Hedera's network settles transactions in under 3 seconds for a fraction of a penny. And the proof is in the numbers. Hedera is uniquely governed by a council of the world's leading institutions, ensuring transparency, trust, and decentralization. It's no wonder Hedera is the leading choice for enterprise and DeFi use cases. Everything from real-world asset tokenization to AI data integrity. Discover the only decentralized network with the governance, scalability, and security to power the new digital economy. What future will you build?